Hello everyone, and welcome back to Nim Games channel. This is my channel where I share all kinds of games that I have played. Sometimes, I also talk about interesting details that I happen to pick up here and there. And today, we are going to go through a summary of 10 interesting features. 10 facts that you may not know about the final boss in the game Poppy Playtime. Everyone knows that this creature is called the prototype. But what details does he have that we might have missed while playing the game? Let's find out together. And if you find this video interesting, don't forget to like and subscribe to Nim Game. First, let's look at some basic information about the main antagonist in the Poppy Playtime series. The prototype. Throughout the journey through the corridors of Playtime Company in Poppy Playtime, players gradually realize that there is someone controlling all kinds of monsters, pulling the strings from somewhere inside the factory. This being is called the prototype, and he does not have a clear form. After 4 chapters, we still cannot find out exactly who he is. The mystery surrounding the identity of the prototype has not yet been revealed. So these may be 10 details you might have missed while playing Poppy Playtime about the entity known as the prototype. The first fact about the prototype is that many people think the prototype is extremely overpowered. But he is not actually the first product. In the experiments of the Playtime Company factory, many toys in the factory call him the original one, meaning the first one, the sample product. It sounds as if he was the first success in the Bigger Bodies program, where Playtime tried to turn humans into giant toys. But no, the truth is much more disturbing than that. He was not a success. He was a mistake that was too intelligent. According to the documents, the prototype was a specimen powered by black tar, a thick black liquid, sticky like oil and almost impossible to control. But there was one special thing about him. He possessed terrifying intelligence, to the point that the scientists had to restrain him because he learned too quickly. Because of that, the strange nature of the prototype caught the attention of Harley Sawyer, and he was studied by him for an extremely long time. As for the exact details, you have probably heard about them before. And for that reason, Playtime did not recognize the prototype as a complete product. Instead, the title of the first successful creation belonged to Boxy Boo, one of the early products that was safer, easier to control, and, well, less dark. And that is one fact about the prototype that makes his appearance even more terrifying. Well, to be honest, this guy already looks creepy enough. Just looking at the Shrine of Catnap in Chapter 3 is enough to know that. In Chapter 3, during a scene where the prototype's hand reaches down from the ceiling to take a little ketchup from Catnap, we get a clearer look at this entity's design. His hand moves quite slowly, so we can notice that his hand has bones. And they seem to be real bones. More precisely, they look like adult human bones. Not metal, not plastic wires, but something combined with machinery and electrical cables. There are at least 2 large bone joints connected inside his hand. And this leads to an extremely frightening conclusion. The prototype is not just machinery. He is a hybrid creature. A cyborg, half human and half machine. So there is a very high chance that the prototype was once a real human. Or at least based on a real human body. This implantation created a monster that possesses both intelligence and mechanical strength. He has outstanding intelligence, and he does not need to eat or sleep. A product like that would definitely make those toy creatures created from the souls of sniffling children call him Father. And that brings us to the third part. We know that this boss of all bosses was the one who started the Hour of Joy, turning the toys from test subjects into the new masters of Playtime Co. However, in Project Playtime, this is revealed in more detail. According to that, he was the one who ordered Huggy Wuggy to search for and eliminate the player. A warm voice, a calm presence, and even leadership ability. If this guy were not a monster, he would definitely be a rare talent. And that is another fact you might have missed about the prototype. The fifth part. If you think the prototype is just some guy collecting leftover parts from toy monsters, covered in machinery and black tar with no clear shape, then you should listen closely to this part. In reality, the prototype has his own face. I am not joking. Even though there has never been a moment where he reveals his true face. There are at least 2 details in Poppy Playtime that confirm this. The first one is in Chapter 3. where you can see Catnap's statue. This is probably the clearest revealed form of this powerful entity. Aside from the things that were collected and attached to him, we can see a strange, blurry face. That could very possibly be a sketch of the prototype. But it could also just be the imagination of the child's soul inside Catnap. However, in Chapter 4, we can find a note describing the prototype standing outside Haven, placing his hand on the glass, silently staring at a toy that was watching him. There is no video of this event, but in the music video, Sleep Well, we can see a dark shadow. It does not say a word. It only stands there and watches. Those eyes make you feel that behind that layer of metal, there is truly a soul. So we can believe that the prototype has a part of his face that still keeps a human shape. Or at least enough of a face to create expressions. He already has a human-like face. And he is good at talking too. No wonder he managed to win over the entire world. And that is another fact you may have missed about the prototype. Part 6 continues with another interesting fact. If you have played all 4 chapters of Poppy Playtime, you probably noticed this. Even though the prototype is aggressive toward everyone, coldly taking body parts from his old allies, basically acting like a ruthless final boss who never hesitates, he seems strangely gentle toward 2 characters. The first character is Poppy. That is right. After connecting all the events together, we can clearly see that Poppy has thoughts of opposing this factory. But instead of eliminating her, the prototype locks her inside a very hidden and clean room. Maybe because she is too short and tiny to do anything. And in Chapter 4, even though he knows where Poppy is, he does not intend to beat her up. Instead, he tries to lure the doll back. He even pretends to be Ollie, the mysterious boy that she trusts the most. This fact immediately makes us think of that overbearing CEO image from Chinese romance novels. Fierce toward everyone, but gentle only to you. But in this game, there is still one more person that the prototype has not touched. Can you guess who? When I say the prototype seems quite gentle toward 2 characters, aside from Poppy, the other one is the player. Even after going through 4 chapters and facing 4 bosses who could be called true masters with serious skills, the player has never actually had to face the final boss directly. Of course, a final boss does not need to reveal himself too early. But this Experiment 1006 even seems a little too friendly toward the player. If he wanted to kill the yellow-skinned guy, he could have done it at any time. For example, in Chapter 1, if he had ordered Huggy to attack instantly, the player would have been chewed up the moment he got close. Chapter 2 is the same. At first, we thought it was only a hand, but looking at the way that hand took Catnap in Chapter 3, we can see just how fast and powerful it was. Poor Catnap, stabbed through the lung by his own teammate. And then there is Chapter 4. With the amount of explosives in his hands, Kissy and the player were clearly like fish on the chopping board. Birds trapped in a cage. At that moment, just a small amount of explosives would have been enough to send them off. But the prototype still did not make a move. So what is the plot behind this? Is he trying to use the player to clean up his own faction? Or is there some other conspiracy? Let me know your thoughts. And this is part 8 in the chain of facts you may have missed about the prototype. Even though he is an extremely powerful entity, this final boss also has a dirty past that is not easy to hide. No, I am not talking about the story of his cruelty. I am talking about the story where he encouraged a child to use the grab pack. And the victim was none other than the poor boy Theodore Gramble. In the drawings and tapes left behind, we can see a mechanical-handed monster lying under the boy's bed. If that hand was not the prototype's, then whose could it be? He even encouraged the innocent boy to take the green grab pack. Poor kid, he knew nothing about electricity. Yet he still wanted to play with high-tech equipment. As a result, he was electrocuted and almost lost his life. Luckily, thanks to the dedicated treatment of the scientists, he was transferred into the body of a purple cat named Catnap. Poor Catnap, young and naive, he trusted the wrong person. Even after being turned into a monster, he still worshipped only the big-handed guy, the prototype. And in the end, he was stabbed through the lung by that very boss. So brothers, please give a like as a little sympathy for the purple cat. No one can deny that the prototype is extremely dangerous. But could it be that the people who created him did not realize how dangerous he was? No, of course, they were not that brainless. However, it seems that Playtime Company was too confident in the factory's containment system and security cameras. Because of that, the prototype had a period of time when he disappeared from the factory. That is the reason why Theodore Gramble saw an imaginary friend hiding under his bed. Many people keep asking how a monster with huge spider-like legs could crawl under a child's bed. But let me tell you this. That was a story from more than 10 years ago. At that time, we still did not know the true form of this monster. Not only did he come into contact with children, he also connected with other toys, using his mind-opening technique to create a coup known as the Hour of Joy. It was the security loophole of the factory that brought them their tragic ending. That is why people say, it is not scary when the enemy is strong. What is scary is when we do not realize how strong the enemy really is. And that is fact number 10 about the prototype. Brothers, although we have seen many times on Nimb Games channel the scene where Catnap gets stabbed by the prototype's rough hand. Before that brutal and unexplained attack, the prototype once saved Theodore Gramble's life. That was when the boy managed to open the door and escape from the factory using the grab pack. But was seriously injured. At that moment, the prototype could have completely abandoned the boy and escaped on his own. But he did not. The prototype decided to stay and bring the boy to the scientists so they could save his life. People say that a life-saving moment at the edge of death is always remembered most strongly. So it is not hard to understand why Catnap, who was once Theodore, later devoted himself completely to the prototype and worshipped him like a living saint. He may have lost his ability to speak. He may have lost his consciousness and memories of Playcare. But his impression of the prototype always remained like that of a savior. A benefactor. But there is one suspicious point here. Right? The prototype is not just a machine obsessed with brutal killing. He also seems to have some humanity. So what was the reason that made him deal with Catnap at the end of Chapter 3? What do you think? Let me know your opinion. And that is the end of today's video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Nimb Game. Yeah,